nobody's fully here anymore. Not in meetings, not on their feet, not even in their own heads. Why is the case? I think it's because we're not multitasking anymore. I think it's because we're constantly buffering. Sawadee Cup and welcome to another episode here for the Fun Report, Mindful Media and Communication. And what I just said is something that's been with me, following me for a while now. And I want to start by talking about, well, why is it happening? Because we've been multitasking for quite a while, right? Multitasking used to be like this super important skill. I remember when back in the day when I applied for my first jobs, it's like, are you good at multitasking? Yeah, I can handle several tasks at once, no problem. So multitasking was something cool, something good, something that you should be able to master. It was sold as a flex, that I can multitask. And now I think it's still sometimes sold as a flex, but because the multitasking is overloading us more and more and more, it's not like doing 2 or 3 things at once, it's doing 30 or 40 things at once, right? Juggling everything that happens on social media, all the input, all the pop-up notifications, all those things. So I think the cognitive load, and therefore also what I want to call the cognitive debt, I'm not the first one calling it that, the cognitive debt is much higher than we think it might be. You're like, yeah, sure, multitasking, I can do this, and sure, I can do that. Would you mind? No, I don't mind. Just give it to me. I can do it. And while we might be able to do this for a while, the cognitive debt doesn't just go away. And that's one of the reasons why we're in a constant state of buffering. That's mostly because when you switch tasks in your head, in physically as well, but also mentally, when you switch tasks, that burns focus. Because you have to focus on something else. Makes sense, right? So from one thing to another thing, to another thing, to another thing. So you never really focus on one thing completely. You have like those micro focus moments. And that fits where we're at right now in society, right? Shrinking attention span, all those things. But if your focus is not focused, if you don't focus on one thing, but you have this micro focus, it's also shredding your attention, so to speak. So your attention gets shredded into those micro moments, micro fees, if you will. Okay. So when you only focus on one task, you're fully there. Focus on 2 or 3 tasks. Yeah, you think you can handle it. If you focus on like 10 different things, then you're shredding your attention like to 10 tiny little pieces. And that also increases the cognitive load. I'm hesitating because the next word I'm saying is actually, let me just say it, efficiency, right? Efficiency. We want to be efficient when we work, right? And what is efficiency? Is a question. Cameras off, like nodding heads, yep, slide pings open all the time, right? You're technically present, but mentally you're lagging because you have all those distractions happening around you. And there are, as you know, in this podcast, we always talk about a few communication theories. So there are theories that try to explain this. One that we discussed before, the attention economy, right? We had it in previous episodes already. That basically tells us that the focus that we have as an audience is not infinite. Focus is like a currency that's being siphoned. So you move it from one place to another, basically, right? So you cannot assign an infinite amount of focus on like 1,000 different tasks because your focus isn't infinite. So if I say I'm going to take another task on, then I cut down the focus I have for the 10 things I'm already doing to also include thing number 11. Okay, so that's taking attention away from the task that I should be doing. So while you're adding more to it, and you're like, yeah, I can handle this, I can do it. Like, I mean, congratulations for being very nice and being eager, and congratulations for being at 7 places at once. But if you're honest, you're not really useful at any of those places. and now you're already unsubscribing. And the thing is, if you're still here, it's not just you, it's me, it's many of us, because the current culture kind of runs on us working in fragments, if you will. Yeah, so back in the day, I don't, it makes us feel really old, right? But previously, the things like a shared presence in championship finals, for example, in TV series finales, and concerts, you had like those be here now moments, right? You focus only on that moment. Either you be there in person, live, or you're watching it, but you're only watching the finale of Friends, okay? Of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all those things that made us like feel something. You're only watching this, then your attention is not fragmented in other places. The new culture now that we're living in, I mean, chances are you're either listening to this on Spotify, fully focused, chances are not that high, or you're seeing clips of this on TikTok, on IG, whatever, right? So using it as well. But this is the new culture, fragments, TikTok sounds, cropped screenshots, stitched reels, all those things. So being able to do all those things is cool, but it has its impact on how we focus, how we assign attention. We skim thumbnails on social media instead of experiencing like whole events, whole episodes, stories. You just check the fragments and see, hey, that sounds cool. When's the last time you watched a reel or a TikTok post until the end? Right? Right. And adding here some theory as well. I mentioned this one time before because it's a very, very current theory. It talks about aura. Okay, I know aura. So aura. It suggests that cultural moments, like important moments, they lose uniqueness when they are atomized, meaning like broken down in small pieces. So if you were to go to a World Cup game, for example, if you were to go to a concert of a band you always wanted to see, it's one thing to really take it all in as a whole event. And it's a different thing to like atomize and break it down in small highlight reels. And if you only consume the small highlight reels, it's the same as if you weren't even there. It's the same as like just a TV, whatever, spectacle. It's something that is distant. We have no relation to it. Okay, so, and that leads me to the theory we discuss a lot here in the podcast. I just mentioned it, the spectacle, right? Because the spectacle says that society of the spectacle, you remember, we as a society, we want to consume cultural goods that seem distant, far for us, that we cannot do, experience, live. That's why we want to see others living, doing, experiencing it. So if you have this fragmented presence, like all those fragments of cool events everywhere, then we don't feel like we have to do something, we have to go there, which will keep the audience, us, in what we then call a passive consumption mode. A passive audience is an easy audience to control and to feed. That could be political input, that could be just commercial input, buy this, buy that, you need the new iPhone 17, and so on. Okay? So fragmented content, so to speak, keeps us feeling like, okay, I don't need to go there, I don't need to see the whole event, I see all the highlights on Instagram anyways, on TikTok anyways, I can just stay here, sit here, be passive, just keep scrolling, keep consuming, keep spending my money there, and not experiencing something for myself. Yeah, we used to binge like box sets, remember that? And now what we binge is vibes. Doesn't sound that bad initially, right? But think about it. Do you want to binge vibes or do you want to live vibes? Exactly. And now I'm going to say something that might surprise you, but I'm telling you that platforms out there, wherever you consume content, they love your absence. Now you might say, what? Why? Well, platforms, what they monetize is they monetize restlessness. Great word for German, restlessness. Platforms monetize restlessness. Yeah, every micro shift of attention that we mentioned earlier, right? You have your attention and your focus, and you divide it, you fragment it to like many different events that you try to follow. So every shift in attention means they get a new data point. You like this, you like that, you watch this, you spend 3 seconds on that, which means it's a new ad slot. They can sell more ads. And that's good for platforms. If you were fully immersed in like a 3-hour thing, that's not really what they want. They want a perpetual. In the background right now, you're hearing speakers of like a car selling stuff. It's amazing. I was like driving around here the weekend, just like, hey, I've got those fruits. Do you want some? Okay, back to what I just said. So full immersion is dangerous for platforms because if you're less immersed, then you create more data points, means they can sell more ads, right? So the perpetual scroll is something that platforms, of course, benefit from. If you keep scrolling, consuming, that's what all the platforms want. And that's where I add my favorite theory maybe of the year right now, enshittification. We talked about it many a times. Platforms, they are optimizing away right now from user immersion. They're going into like those endless distraction loops. Like, look at this. Here's 30 seconds you should see. Here's like a 1-minute clip you should see. Check this, check that. Yeah, that's why YouTube is pushing YouTube Shorts as well, right? I mean, there's a reason why they do that. So the thing is here, right? Presence, being fully present, doesn't scale. Restlessness does scale. That's why if you've been listening to this podcast right now for 12 minutes already, you're basically fighting the system. Keep listening, keep watching. I hope you do know what I'm saying, right? So I have 2 more things that I wanted to discuss in this regard. One is, what's the actual cost of being everywhere and nowhere? We talked about the cognitive depth in the intro, right? But what else does it mean? Because, yeah, when you consume different fragmented bytes of content, of whatever, does it also mean that what you consume has equal weight? You're not giving a 30-second clip about war more weight than a 30-second clip about like whatever trivia that you're into, right? So tragedy might become reduced to trivia because we don't immerse ourselves fully in the news, for example, anymore. It's basically the fight between meme and wars. What am I consuming more right now? Because I want to keep consuming those fragments, so I'm going to spend, I scroll, I see some fun post, I see the meme post here, I see the post about Gaza here, I see another meme post there, I see a quick post about Ukraine here, and so on. But yeah, it's happening at the same speed and gets the same amount of attention from me, which kind of like assigns a similar value to it, which is pretty tragic when we're thinking about it. Because one should be clearly more important than the other. But if we just split our attention equally, it doesn't seem like it. And even take it to a business level. Meetings, right? Meetings are background noise. That's because meetings are background noises right now. Do we really care about what's being said in meetings? The decisions based on meetings are made without clarity all the time right now. Because you're saying something for 30 seconds, everyone's just throwing stuff in for a little bit. No one's really paying any attention. Then in the end, it's like, okay, cool. What are we doing now? This. And no, that's not a reflection of where I work. It's a reflection of work in general. That's what I'm saying, okay? Because feeds, and we're on feeds all the time. No matter if it's your LinkedIn feed, if it's your TikTok, IG feed, we're on feeds, Spotify, on feeds all the time. And what do feeds teach us? They teach us to half listen, not to immerse yourself. They teach us to half listen, half react. And I put LinkedIn there on purpose because it's supposed to be a professional network, but it does the same thing. It lives from engagement. Why does LinkedIn have this stupid quiz? right? So we are losing proportion. We are losing hierarchy of meaning. And while this is good for engagement, because it can show more fragmented, small pieces of content, it's terrible for humans making sense of having common sense, understanding the world. It's terrible for that. Throwing another theory at you so that you don't think it's just me ranting here, but there is a theory in communication called the collapse of context. Okay, so if all signals are flattened into like the same feed, they all become the same. There's no difference. Is it war? Is it fun? Is it fake? Is it AI? It's all the same. Is it brain rot? Is it the Ukraine war? I don't know. All the same value. And I cannot believe that we all let that happen. It's like, and I can make that example because I'm in Thailand and I lived through some of those. And so your cousin's cat video and coup d'etat, they walk into the same timeline and they get the same attention. Unbelievable. And so what do we do? Switch off the internet? No. Even though my internet is switched off right now, thank you to AIS in Thailand. So many problems here all the time. But that's a different topic. Even though I had an appointment yesterday and they just canceled the appointment by themselves without telling me. But hey. So what do we do? I think we should somehow find a way to relearn presence. And it's a very teacher thing to say. I understand that, right? But I don't have the fantasy about like everyone going on like a big detox or anything, because we all know it's never gonna work. But making like small micro corrections, I think, is something that we could all be working on. So a meeting where you close all the other tabs. One feed session where you actually click. One conversation where you don't grab your phone during the pause. Sounds a bit silly, sounds a bit, I don't know, easy, cheesy maybe even, but I think those were some good steps to actually take. If you think about it, how often do you do it? Maybe the first challenge is just watch this video or listen to this podcast until the very end, and then take it from there. Because presence isn't asceticism, if you're honest. It's proportion. And relearning presence also requires relearning proportion. What deserves more value than others? It's not Zen, it's not monkhood. It's just maybe showing up once in a while without a second screen. So, and the last thing, I'll leave it with that because I don't want to go into preacher mode. But if nobody's fully anywhere, then I think culture itself becomes nowhere. And do you really want to be there? Let me know what you think. Shout out in the comments, please. It would be interesting to get some feedback on like how do you feel about that. Leave comments on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. It really helps to reach a wider audience, to hopefully get more input from different people, different thought processes, and so on. Until then, stay safe, take care, stay present, and we'll talk soon. Sabika.